Hi everyone, welcome back, and I hope you had a really great Christmas. We were able to spend some time with your friends and family. I know that I did, and it's really nice to be able to spend time with family, but it's also really nice to come back to check out some amazing leather and some amazing wallets today. Today I've got a bunch of really cool stuff, including these Color 8 Marble Shell Cordovan Tony the Ants, but I also have a bunch of other stuff that we are shipping today. I wanted to show you a really crazy wallet with a very intense color combination that I don't think we've ever seen before. And then I had a request to compare some different horsehair brushes and talk about how to maintain and take care of your leather goods. But let's start off first with this Tony the Ant and the really cool Color 8 Marble Shell Cordovan. I just had to lead off with these because I thought this marble shell was particularly nice. I'm really excited about the pattern that the marbled shells are all coming with right now, and it has this really cool color effect and sort of layers of stain that are really satisfying for me to look at. So I really wanted to show you these two Tony the Ants. They're both in Color 8 Marble Shell Cordovan. And check out this one with that really huge stripe down the back. When we get the marbled shell, sometimes it's a bit of a challenge to get the marbled pattern to show up in a context that makes sense. So for example, on some of the smaller card holder pattern pieces here, it's hard for us to show sort of the range of color that you get in those marbled shells because the pattern is just so small on the inside, but we really like to highlight it on the bigger pieces, like on this one here. Continuing on with some of the other stuff we're shipping today, this is another piece of amazing marbled shell cordovan. This is a black marbled shell cordovan, Johnny the Fox. And you can see it sort of has more of a greenish appearance, and that's because the black dyes that we use to stain every piece of black shell is actually a green black. There's little hints of green in that dye. And the last remaining black shell Johnny the Foxes I have with the super cool reverse interior, they're all a little bit more of this subtle version of the marbling. So when you look at it at different angles, more of the color contrast pops. That I think is really interesting. This one has a little less orange than some of the other ones we've seen in the past. It's more of a really cool dark black to dark green to a lighter green gradient going on. And I'm really into the reverse interior on this one as well. Now we have several really nice Tony the Ants that are going out today, and I picked a selection of a few of the ones that I thought were very eye-catching. So this is an intense blue shell cordovan Tony the Ant. And the blue on this is just so vibrant and nice. A lot of times we find darker blue shades tend to encroach more on black. So this one definitely reads as a blue, especially at certain lights and certain angles. So for that reason, I really like this vibrant, intense blue shell cordovan color. Now here's another Tony the Ant in Color 8 Shell Cordovan. This one has been personalized for VC. And VC, you got a really cool looking Color 8 Tony the Ant here. The luster on that shell is just so nice, and then the inside with this really satisfying reverse interior. Now here's another Johnny the Fox that has been personalized. This one is for Robert, and Robert, I'm a huge fan of your wallet, and I'll explain a couple of reasons why, but this black shell on the outside is just such a good, clean, sort of classic look, and the shell itself is super nice and shiny. On the inside you chose a black horsehide, which I really like. That makes this wallet very thin, actually. So some people often mistake thinness in the leather for a lack of durability, but I can tell you that in my experience, even with the thin pieces of horsehide on the inside or even thin pieces of shell, the durability and longevity of the wallet tend to remain the same from what I've seen. So if you're looking for something a little thinner and you want to save $100, I think this horsehide interior is a really good option for you to consider. So here I have a Fat Herbie in one of my new favorite leathers just ever. That is the English Tan Dublin, and I'm a really big fan of the Dublin leather. If you're not familiar with Dublin, this is a vegetable tan leather, and in fact it's tanned with the same tree barks that are tanning that we tan every piece of shell cordovan with, but this is done on side leather and not the horse butts. So you get that really nice sort of tree bark wood veg tan characteristic, but it has this really satisfying, I call it a veg bite to it. So there's the leather itself, when you have a nice veg with a good bite to it, I call it, what that means is It sort of is soft and like malleable, but it also sort of snaps back to where it was before. So the other thing that vegetable tan leathers are really known for is their ability to develop a patina that you may be very familiar with if you're checking out these videos, but it also has an incredible ability to retain its shape. So when you put cards or bills, anything in this wallet, it will tend to mold around its contents really, really well, just like any vegetable tan leather. And on the Dublin, I just happen to feel that this leather has such an incredible grain character, just makes it one of my favorites probably ever. So speaking of favorites, let's move on to some other stuff that's shipping today. This is a Frank the Enforcer in Amaretto shell Cordovan, and I am a huge fan of this shell Cordovan color. It's my new favorite shell color. And one of the reasons is what you're seeing right here is how it sort of changes color right before your eyes. So take a look at that top card slot, and as I move the angle, it goes from a light in this direction, sort of a very bright orangey color. And then when I move it this way, it's more of a darker brown that I just think is so cool to play with. It's sort of a little parlor trick, we like to call it. And what's actually happening is the shell membrane itself is sort of directional in the same way that a suede is directional. So you'll notice that if you brush a suede one direction or the other, the color will change lighter and darker. And you're seeing that same effect here, although it's on a very fine, smaller scale. It's microscopically directional on the shell Cordovan. Now here's another really cool Frank the Enforcer. This one is all reverse black shell Cordovan. And the reverse black, as I said earlier, is more of a green color. That's because we use a greenish black dye in the staining process. And this Frank the Enforcer has been personalized for Northeast, which I think is really cool. And then one more Frank the Enforcer to show you, again in that incredible Dublin leather, but this is black Dublin. And I've said before, and I will continue to say it until I'm sick of hearing myself say it, but the black Dublin for me is the best black leather that you can buy. I think it's the only black that I've seen that has any amount of grain character. And when I say grain character, I'm talking about the texture that the leather has. You'll notice that on a lot of black leathers, there's so much finish put onto the leather that you don't really see any of this natural sort of leather texture that you see on the Dublin. It starts to look more like finish because there's so much finish that just fills in all of the texture. And for that reason, I just absolutely love the black Dublin, especially on this little Frank the Enforcer. All right, now I promised you something funky, and I really wanted to deliver. This is a really funky color combination on a Tony the Ant. On this one, we have a really cool whiskey and amaretto on the back, and then the inside has cigar with reverse cigar on one side. I actually like this combo, or this concept too, and this was a special order for a customer. But I would like the idea that's going on here where you have one side reverse and one side not. When you have two pieces of the shell on the inside, and when they rub together, they will scratch each other. But when you have one that is shell and one that is not, or even both of them as reverse, it tends to have more of a polishing effect than an abrasive effect. And that's why I really like that one piece flipped around. And on top of that, you get the added bonus of showing more ink stamp, which are always really cool to look at. And this outside, I imagine that this is going to wear in really, really well. And whoever gets this one, I'm going to ask them to send some photos back, because I think when this wears in, the color will definitely darken. But I'm curious to see how much these two colors will start to blend together, and to see if you start to see more of those vibrant undertones of the whiskey, or maybe some undertones of the amaretto, even after a couple years of patina. All right, finally today, I really wanted to go over a question that I had received, and this topic deserves a much longer video. I had a question come in from a customer asking how to best take care of their leather wallets and their leather shoes and footwear. And again, this deserves a much longer video that I will do. But generally speaking, the answer to this question is awful. The answer is that it depends. It depends on what you want to do. So for me, I really like to wear my stuff very hard. As you can see on these Chrome Excel Indie boots, I scuff them, I scratch them, I don't put shoe trees in. I just like aging the leather. For me, the philosophy is that leather was meant to be worn and used, and I like to see that there's some character that I put on it. So it's sort of my own personal touch to each piece of leather shoe or wallet that I carry. Now, having said that, the best way to take care of these, other than doing nothing like I suggest, is to just brush them. And I have a couple different types of brushes here that are all, I'm not going to really advertise a brand because I don't know what the absolute best brush is. I can tell you that from my experience, the horsehair brush is the best. And you'll find different brushes that have denser and less dense fill to them. So this one on the left here is a very common brush, and it's very sparse with the amount of horsehair in it. As you can see here, it's not dense at all. And I have another one here that is a little bit more dense. There's more horsehair per square inch. And then this last one here has a heck of a lot per square inch. So I tend to find that more horsehair per inch, more density of horsehair is better to give you a bright, shiny luster when you're brushing any piece of leather. But you'll also be able to get good results from any of these. I just find that the denser ones do a little bit better of a job. Another question that this person had asked was, do you use different color brushes and different color cloths to take care of different colored leathers? And the answer is yes. So for me, I like to use this black horsehair on darker colors. So that could be a black. I would even use it with a color 8. Anything that's very dark, I'll go with the black. And then for light shades, like a natural or tan, I like to use this light one. But you could have multiple brushes, use one for each color. I don't think that's necessary. I found that you can get by with 2 pretty well. And then for cloths, you can just use any sort of soft cloth. In fact, cloth diapers actually work really well. So you can use that to apply polish, brush off or wipe off excess polish, and then just give it a quick brushing. So if I wanted to sort of upgrade this Alden Indie boot, like I said, I kind of don't like doing that, but if I were to, the first thing I would do is I would give this a brush with any of these brushes and just to start to see how it looks, because maybe there's just a layer of dust and dirt like you can see right here that's probably mostly dust. So I brush off all that dust, and if it looks good, I would stop right there, just brush it. If it still looks kind of dirty, or if it looks like it needs a little bit of life brought back to it, I would wash it with a little bit of soapy water, and I will do a video of this as well. But if you just take a cup of water, add 1 or 2 drops of dish soap, and then wash this leather and let it dry overnight. It's really important to not expedite the drying. Come back the next day with a product like my Tanner's Blend conditioner or any conditioner and condition the leather, and then let that dry as well. Give it another brush, and then you can apply neutral polish that has more wax to it to give it a brighter luster. That would be how I would approach taking care of these. But each step on the way, I would wait to see like if it looks good and doesn't need more stuff, because the more product you add, the less natural character that you get. So it's sort of always better, you can always add more later. But anyways, I wanted to approach this subject a little bit, and I'll continue to talk about this and do a longer video in the future. But I wanted to give you some initial thoughts on how I take care of my leather stuff. But generally speaking, the best thing to do is just to wear it and enjoy it and not worry about it. So thanks again for checking it out. If you have more questions on some of the boot polishing topics or how to take care of your leather stuff, please ask those directly either in the comments here, or you can send me an email. But thanks again for checking everything out, including this crazy color combo here. I'll be back again tomorrow with some more stuff.